Yeah, 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 yeah. Can I can I start? What time should I start? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Just okay. Okay. Um, um, maybe if it's possible. If not, don't worry about it. Yeah, a little hotter, like hotter, like a little bit burning, but not too much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Say Bismillah and you breathe, okay? Is good?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you, thank you.
What?
Just let me know when to start. Let me know when to start. Okay. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك
فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأقل يا غفور عترتي فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وعثرة قد أقلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده الباسط بالجود يداه الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما. إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيما وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك. كأن لي التطول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق وباسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادل ولا شبيه يشاكل ولا ظهير يعاضد. قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وعناء أعصي ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد السائل ولا يخيب آمل. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآياتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على صديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، وصل على سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك، صلاة كثيرة اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمن والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين، وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. يا إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له وابدل من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا اللهم المم به شعتنا واشعب به صدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا وأعزز به ذلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيد به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجح به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وأعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين اشف به صدورنا وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة فتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you very much.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for joining us on one of the last nights of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, may Allah accept all of your actions and may you be rewarded during this month, inshallah. Just a couple of announcements before we start the speech. First announcement, alhamdulillah, we have a lot of kids in-house today, which is excellent, mashallah, a lot of barakah in this program. Just a friendly reminder maybe to keep an eye on them for their own safety, inshallah. And we are still collecting donations. It's not too late. There's still a couple of days left in Shahr Ramadan. If you would like to donate a little bit, inshallah, that would be much appreciated. And maybe I'll just mention this. Sayyid mentioned yesterday that the estimate for Zakat al-Fitra is $15, inshallah. And Eid is still unknown this year. It's either going to be on Friday or Saturday based on the moon sighting. So once that is confirmed, we are going to send out an email and probably a text as well on WhatsApp, on the WhatsApp group, inshallah. So without further ado, please help me invite Sayyid Abbas with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So it's in the center, yeah. Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. One of the ihtiyat or precautions that some of the maraja have is that zakat al-fitr should be given in one's own city. I know that many people like to send their zakat al-fitra outside. This is permissible if there's nobody that's poor that qualifies in your own town. But as a matter of precaution, obligatory precaution, a person should give their zakat al-fitr and it should be given to the poor in your own city. Alhamdulillah, Yasin, one of the good things it does is that it distributes at least the Sahm Imam, at least in, not Sahm Imam, the Sahm Ghayr Sadat, the Sahm of those that are not Sayyid, it distributes it to those that are in need in this town, in this city. And that is important because some have this precaution. So it's better as a precaution. So when you come for Eid, inshallah, and you bring the exact, we said, exact change, or you round up, or you use your, I don't know if they accept credit cards or not. I'm assuming they do. You do. So yes, it will be given, inshallah, here. Now some people, they want to also help out from the country they're from or in other people, they can help. And usually zakat al-fitr there is much cheaper for the dollars if you want to do that as well, but it should be calculated and inshallah should be given here. But if you want to give some there as well, go ahead, bismillah. There's no limit. And it is actually a good deed. True, it's zakat. But at the same time, if you want to give extra money, that's okay as well. So please give a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So tonight, most likely, we'll see if I won't be here for salat tomorrow. I'll be trying to look for the moon. And so I won't know if I'll be able to speak or not. Inshallah, you will have a better speaker than me. But we'll see. But I do see many people that are very skinny. So I feel sorry for them. So I'm going to go up to the mountains and try to find the moon for you, inshallah. Yes. Some people before, even they bought some of my family members telescopes. So maybe I can go and have a better chance at seeing it. Yes, so hopefully whatever it is, I'll find inshallah something for you tomorrow night and we'll call it Eid inshallah. But hopefully it will be a good way to see the moon. It should not be too hard. It is, the conditions have to be perfect, but we also had the same conditions or similar conditions, I think when Shahr Ramadan started, right? Or was it Sha'ban? I think Sha'ban. The beginning of Sha'ban. But similar conditions we had, and we saw the moon in San Diego, and I verified it with a few brothers that I trust, and it was, for us it brings us confidence, so we said that it was the beginning of the month. So tonight most likely will be the last of these discussions. And what were we talking about? Death, barzakh, and now Day of Judgment, now Qiyamah, As-Sa'ah. We talked about the angels. Which angel is in charge of the trumpet to be blown? Israfil. Some say one of the most muqarrab angels to Allah. Some say one of the first angels to do sujood to Adam alayhi salam. So you see that this angel, with the power that it has to even give death to the other angels, he will blow on a trumpet once, there will be death again, and then there will be life. Quran mentions two of the, the sur or the trumpet being blown. Nafkh as-sur. We look at the Holy Quran, a nice chapter or verse about this topic is in the Holy Quran, and I'll read it for you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Some of the Jews or Christians came to the Holy Prophet of Islam, and they were asking him about the Sa'ah, even though they knew in their own books that nobody knows the hour. They came and asked them, when is the hour? When is the Sa'ah, the Day of Judgment? يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا. They ask you, O Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajh, about the hour. When is its arrival? قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ رَبِّي. The answer is, tell them. Say to them that I do not have knowledge of this. Its knowledge is only with my Lord. لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو. Nobody will expose it. Nobody will reveal it except for God. Why do you think God does not tell us when the Day of Judgment is? One of the reasons is it is such a scary event. First of all, if we can understand, that's the first thing. If we can understand the Day of Judgment, the first thing is we understand that it is very scary. So therefore, when it's so scary, we don't know necessarily, we don't want to make everyone to panic, to keep counting it. For example, if we told you it's in the year, 3000 or something, people would keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and they would be in anxiety until that time. The second purpose of not knowing the exact time is that people can be cautious of it, and people can be prepared of the Day of Judgment. We said, when does the Day of Judgment happen? After the government of Imam Mahdi, after Raj'ah, after the government of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. After then it will come. So people need to be prepared. It could happen anytime. Once, it's an interesting story that Jibreel comes and he is speaking to the Holy Prophet of Islam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And suddenly Jibreel looks towards the sky and turns pale because of terror, of fright, Jibreel. He asked the Prophet to give him refuge. The Prophet looked and he saw a massive angel come down. A massive, massive angel come. And this angel comes, he looks towards the Holy Prophet and says, O Muhammad, I have come down with an order from Allah for you to choose one of these two. Do you want kingdom and prophethood, or do you want Allah's slavery and prophethood? Which one do you want? And the Prophet of Islam looked and had advice, got advice from Jibreel, which one should he choose? And he chooses prophethood and Allah's slavery. Then this angel, which was huge, goes back in where he came, goes back to the seventh heaven, and at that time, Jibreel had passed out and waken up, and the Prophet asks him, and he says, why? What did you know who that angel was? And he says, yes, this was Israfil. He says, from the day of Allah created the heavens and earth, Israfil never came down to the earth. So when I saw him coming down, I thought it was the Qiyamah. I thought he was coming down because he never came down and the trumpet will be blown. So this caused Jibreel to suddenly seek refuge and for him to change in a way. Once Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he was in the tradition from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, asked Jibreel, when will the Qiyamah come? As soon as Jibreel heard about it, he started trembling and he became unconscious. He says, "O Ruhullah, verily you know more about it than me." He then recited, the verse of Quran. So you see that those that know the reality of the Day of Judgment, the hour, what will happen. And we said this yesterday, some of the events, the splitting of the sky, the scattering and collapse of the stars, the sun and the stars dying out, the earth shattering and expanding, the earth quaking in a strong way, the earth recounting what God has revealed, the seas coming together, mountains moving and becoming like wool, and people disappearing like moths. These are some of the most frightening and scary events of humans that humans will ever face. So one of the reasons that Allah does not tell us why is so we do not freak out exactly what time it is. The second is we can be prepared for it. But tonight's discussion is about this, when you see the scariness of the Day of Judgment. Let me continue actually this first verse. The Quran mentions the same verse that we said they came to the Prophet and they asked, when is the Day of Judgment? And Rasulullah was commanded to say, Allah knows, my Lord knows. Then it says, ثَقُلَتْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. It is heavily lays upon the earth, the heavens and the earth. ثَقُلَتْ, it is heavy, the Day of Judgment. لَا تَأْتِيكُمْ إِلَّا بَغْتَةً. It will come not upon how you expect, it will come unexpectedly, the Day of Judgment. يسألونك كأنك حفي عنها قل إنما علمها عند الله ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. So why does the Quran say ثقلت? What's so heavy about it? Allama Tabatabain al-Mizan gives some possibilities. Once it's ثقلت in the Quran, it's heavy because the knowledge of the hour is a heavy weight on the back of the heavens and the earth. One can be the knowledge of the Day of Judgment. Two, it could be the features of the Day of Judgment, the hour. The inhabitants of the heavens and earth because of its intensity, its punishments. Three, the occurrences of the hour is heavy. Scattering of the stars, the sun, we said. Four, the graveness and intensity of it will be in a way nobody can bear. So dear brother, dear sister, when you hear about as-sa'ah and the Day of Judgment, the hour, we have a threat in front of us. And everyone, even those in the grave, will be scared from the Day of Judgment. What can we do on the Day of Judgment? And tonight will be the last of the series, most likely. What can we do to protect ourselves from the Day of Judgment? What can we do to have amn, to be protected? What is the best thing you think we can do? I'm going to give you some recommendations tonight, inshallah, and hopefully we can practice it. The first thing that we can do to protect ourselves from the Day of Judgment. We see that Allah says in the Quran, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. They who believe and do not mix their belief with injustice, those will have security and they are rightly guided. Those that do not do injustice, those that do not have dhulm, those that do not commit sin, they will have amn, they will have protection. So the first thing is, who that has never done any dhulm? Who never has done anything wrong? Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Because the Quran, they are identified in the Quran in 33:33 as the tahirin, as the pure. They're away from rijs. They're away from any type of dhulm. So we see that the best protection that we can have on the Day of Judgment, and we said this over and over in the grave, during death, in the grave, in the questioning, in the different stations of the Day of Judgment, in the different stations of Akhirah, is getting help from the Prophet and his noble family. Many stories you see of the Prophets that they were saved by Rasulullah and his family. Many times. They all know who Rasulullah is because the hadith has Rasulullah is the teacher of the other prophets. We have from Prophet Adam alayhi salam that when he committed we don't say a sin, when he did tarka ola, he didn't do the best thing and he ate from the tree. And he sought for forgiveness from Allah. Then he mentions the name of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Ya Hamidu bihaqq Muhammad, Ya Ali bihaqq Ali, Ya Fatiru bihaqq Fatima, Ya Qadim al-Ihsan bihaqq al-Hasan wal-Husayn alayhimus salam. He mentions his names and he is forgiven. How powerful and strong these names are. Because they are the ones that have separated themselves from all dhulm. They are the sense of protection. When Prophet Ibrahim was going to be thrown in the fire, when he fought against his society, and he could not take it anymore, and he could not understand why are people worshipping idols? Why are they later on taking the sun, the moon, or the stars? Why are they worshipping them? And finally their city had it, and they were tired with him, and they decided to put him in a catapult. Allah, Jibreel, the angel comes, Allah sends a tunic, a shirt, and that shirt had the names of our Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. And that tunic is what saves him from the hellfire, from the fire of the catapult. And you see, when Ibrahim is thrown into that, for him it is cold. It does not affect him. When Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was thrown in the well, and 3 days he's in there as a child. Maybe at that time he's 9 years old, right? 9 years of old age, 12 years of age. And they throw him in the well. 3 days a child. And then it comes down to him to mention these names of Ahlul Bayt and you will be saved. So you see that over and over from the stories of the prophets, we're going to read from some of the stories of Imams, that the basic protection we have is this noble family, the Prophet and his family. So this is a great sign for us that the more you connect to them, the more you love them, the more you follow them, the more you follow their path, you will be protected. The day of Ashura is another example of a day that is very difficult, extremely difficult. The day of Ashura, when you look at the example of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you see the example of how hard it was. Says, Ya Abu Abdullah, Ashhadu laqad iqsha'arrat lidimaikum adillatul arsh. Because of your shahadat, because of what happened to you, because of your blood, the thrones of Allah shook. Ma adillatil khalaiq. وَبَكَتْكُمُ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. So you see that the killing of Imam Hussein, that martyrdom shook the throne of Allah. The creation is crying. Everyone is trembling that day, Ashura. But there's one person that is in amn, one person that is in protection, one person that is in complete peace and calmness. That is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. As we said, those that are the infallible, those that don't do dhulm, they are in amn. Because of the position of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as we have in the Quran, that Allah says, one of the traditions, the ta'wil of this verse, irji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiya. Return to your Lord well pleased and pleasing. Calm was Imam Hussein alayhi salam, ya nafsun mutma'inna. He was referred to from the hadith we have, nafsun mutma'inna, calm. The whole world was trembling. But Hussein ibn Ali on that day was calm. So they will give you calmness. They will give you protection. They will give you amn, inshallah. Ali ibn Abi Talib. Let's take a salawat for Imam Ali alayhi salam. ولاية علي ibn Abi Talib حسني فمن دخل حسني أمن من عذابي is a refuge. The walayat of Imam Ali is a refuge. Whoever enters this hisn, whoever enters this shelter, he will be protected from my adhab. It doesn't matter if the adhab is in this dunya, or if it's in the hereafter, or if it's in the day of judgment. Through the walayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam, you will be protected. We still have a lot to learn about our imams. We still have a lot to learn of Imam Ali, the imam that we lost in Shahr Ramadan. You know, when Shahr Ramadan is ending, and this might be the last night of Shahr Ramadan, we have a lot that we're going to miss. Sometimes I say to myself, not that I wish to die, but I say, how good would it be that Allah would take away my life in Shahr Ramadan? Because whenever it's going to happen, because a person is fasting, a person is staying away from sin, a person's eyes are protected. We're going to mention this too. One of the people that their eyes will not cry, they will be protected, are those that eyes are protected from haram. Those eyes will not cry in the day of judgment. How beautiful it would be in Shahr Ramadan to somebody to leave this world, especially nights of Qadr, especially after crying for Imam Ali. Especially when you know that Imam Ali is your protection for everything. We have a lot to learn. This, dear youth, connect more. Love Imam Ali alayhi salam more. Alhamdulillah, there's a hayat that started, and it's going to be traveling to other, centers. And we had one here. And the kids, when I spoke there as well, and I said, it was right, it was actually right here. I said, look, we're learning, the youth need to learn to cry for Imam Hussein. They need to cry for Imam Ali, need to cry for Rasulullah. This is something they develop. At a young age, many of you that came from other countries, you learned this from your own country. You learned this from ziyarat Allah. You learned this from the hayat. You learned this from the masjid. Our youth need to learn, and the hayat, one of the purposes, is not only to cry for Ahlul Bayt when it's their martyrdom, but hayat is something that once a week, they come together and they learn to cry and they learn to recite. Because how good it is for a person that cries, baka wa abka, and makes others cry, falahul jannah, he'll enter the heaven. Because everything khair and good, because they're ma'dan al-rahmah, they're ma'dan al-khair, they're the source of good. They teach us good. They make you through love, they'll make you become valuable. They'll give you honor. You have honor from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If we have any sharaf and dignity and honor today, no. It is from Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam that we have honor in this world. Or else we have nothing. They take Imam Hussein away from us. They take Imam Ali away from us. Take Rasulullah, we have nothing. The Quran mentions, مَنْ جَاءَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ فَلَهُ خَيْرٌ مِّنْهَا وَهُمْ مِنْ فَزَعٍ يَوْمَئِذٍ آمِنُونَ. And whoever comes with hasana, with good, Allah would take them from the faza, protect them from the faza and the calamity of the day of judgment. A verse of Quran. Whoever does good, whoever ja'a bil hasana, the narration says, al hasanatu wallahi walayatu amir al mu'mineen alayhi salam. Let's give a salawat again. This is hasana. You want something good? It's walayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So we understand the first thing to do and pay attention to is having ma'rifat of the Imam, ma'rifat of Ahlul Bayt, staying under their refuge, learning from them, asking for guidance from them, crying for them, loving them more than your parents, loving them more than yourself, loving them more than your money, loving them more than your wealth. They are your number one priority in your life. This is the sign of the lifestyle of a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. You can't say, I love Imam Ali and have walayat and you don't show it. You have to show it. Show your love for Imam Ali alayhi salam. You see in Arba'in, our Iraqi brothers, they show it. They give whoever comes, they might not have much income at that time, but whatever they have, they give it, they show it. How can you have someone in your heart and you don't show it? We need to learn this, and especially the youth today. And one of the ways of this, we said, is weekly remembrances and learning to cry for Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The second thing, as we have in the tradition, that will protect us from the Day of Judgment. We read from the hadith, كل عين باكية, from the Prophet, يوم القيامة إلا ثلاث أعين. Every eye will be crying on the Day of Judgment. Every eye. Basically, we see that the faza, the calamities of the Day of Judgment is for everyone. Everyone will be crying except for three. Who are the three that won't be crying in the Day of Judgment? One, أعين, you see, ثلاث أعين. عين بكت من خشية الله. The eyes that cried in this world for fear of Allah. He feared God. He feared Him. He never saw God. He never saw, God's signs are mysterious. God's signs are indirect. We still have a barrier in this world. He discovered God. He feared God. Wherever he lived, wherever he went, he knew Allah is watching him. He's in the presence of Allah. So now it's the Day of Judgment. Because he feared the Khaliq, he doesn't fear the Khalaiq. He doesn't fear the creation anymore. So Allah gives him protection in the Day of Judgment. So you cried for me in that day. You cried for me when it was in Shahr Ramadan. And if out of fear, you truly feared me. As you know, as I am powerful, ala kulla shay'in qadir, I'm capable of everything. And you feared me. Day of Judgment, you don't need to cry. The second eye that doesn't cry in the Day of Judgment is the eye that aynun غضت an maharim Allah. The eyes that were closed from the haram, those eyes that were protected, these eyes that Allah gave us to read Quran, to read Hadith, to look at each other, inshallah, the mu'mineen, to look at your parents in a good way. It counts as Hajj, counts as Umrah, to make people happy. Those eyes Allah gave to do good things with it. Every ni'mah, blessing Allah gives you to do something good for it. So God forbids you do something haram with it. And the temptations, especially the youth have in this world. If you remember, if you close your eyes, the youth, the Day of Judgment, your eyes will not cry in the Day of Judgment. You'll be so happy. The third thing we have that will give us protection on the Day of Judgment, we see that aynun batad sahiratan fi sabilillah. Eyes that remained open during night and did not sleep because of Allah. These nights, when you look at most people, they're very tired. The night of Qadr, because they stayed awake, it's still they have fatigue. These eyes that you stayed up and you worshipped Allah, you had Du'a Joshan Kabir, for example, you did Du'a Abu Hamza, you stayed up for Allah. It was hard, especially this Shahr Ramadan, that it was during the weekdays. These nights of Qadr that were during the weekdays, and you had to go to work the next day, and your eyes were tired. But in this tradition, 3 eyes will not cry in the Day of Judgment. They'll just be looking like this, happy. The eyes that what? What was the first eye? Khashyatillah. The second eye from Maharim Allah, closed from Maharim Allah. The third eye that is awake. Some are closed, some are open. Eyes that are open for what? To worship Allah, fi sabilillah. So these are the 3 eyes that will not cry in the Day of Judgment. We also have tradition too, like those that cry for Imam Hussein, those that cry for Imam Hassan, alayhi salam. The third thing we see that is very beneficial for us in the Day of Judgment, that will be protection for us, is keeping the respect of the elders. Those that are older, man arafa fadl kabiran lisannihi fawaqarahu آمنه الله تعالى من فزع يوم القيامة. Whoever keeps the respect of the elders in the community. How beautiful Islam is. Whoever respects them, gives them honor. Allah will protect them. They'll be of the amineen. Allah will give them amniyat, will give them protection on the day of judgment. Dear brother, dear youth, don't be like those that you allow others when it comes to, for example, cleaning the masjid, when it comes to preparing for the masjid. Don't allow the older, may Allah bless their souls, to do it, but the youth should be in charge of this. You have energy, you have free time, you don't have children, you don't have different problems. It's out of respect. The youth should be in charge of cleaning the masjid, preparing the masjid, serving food, everything. When people that are older, they do this, we give them respect and they get heaven from themselves. But especially when we talk about youth, and we talk about the fact that one of the good qualities of the youth is for them to have that, chivalry, which is a good characteristics. A young youth that has taqwa, has energy, it helps out in communities and doesn't allow the older people to work as much. This is something for our youth that we need to become. A lot of times they ask, I want to get married. I say, brother, you can't even organize your own room right now. You don't even know how to function. Because you were raised in a way, or you did not try hard enough to become mature. Be mature first. Be responsible first. Clean up your room. Make up your room. Take some of the chores that you have in the house. Do it. That's what the shabab are supposed to do. That's what the shabab of, followers of Ahlul Bayt are supposed to do. So use that energy that you have instead of all these video games that, mashallah, exist now. Limit it a little bit. And go out and help people. And there's not haram if you help people, especially when you give respect to the elderly, especially when you help this masjid. People would fight, believe me, there's narrations, if you knew the fadl and virtue of the adhan, how much virtue it is. Hadith says you would fight over it for me to do adhan. You become like Mike Tyson all of a sudden to do adhan. You'd knock him out. But because we don't understand the reward, so therefore, we let whoever, you do that. No, you do it. In the same way, if you knew how much virtue there is to clean. Some of the big teachers, Ayatollah al-Uzma, for example, Muhammad Hussein Isfahani, they used to call him Compani. He didn't like the name because his family was so rich. And they named him Company. Because he had a big marja, teacher of Ayatollah Bahja, teacher of others. He would have majalis, and they would say, let me help you. He's obviously a mujtahid, older of age. He said, let us help you. He said, you can help everything out, but two things you cannot help me. One is serving tea for the criers of Imam Hussein. I have to do that. He said, Ayatollah Uzma. But he has to serve the tea to them. He has to be the khadim of Imam Hussein. The second, he said that he would take and pair the shoes outside because they are the guests of Imam Hussein. Would take the shoes and organize them and pair them, and organize them to be a khadim of the khuddam of Imam Hussein because in this is fakhr, in this is honor. If we knew how much worth there was, we would be cleaning and washing and doing this as much as we can, especially the youth that have more time, during this. So giving respect to the elderly, this will give us protection from the day of judgment. And how do you give them respect? Don't let them do the chores for us, inshallah. Let's volunteer more, sign up. Inshallah, when you sign up, you don't sign out without anyone knowing. Sign up and stay signed in, inshallah. And if you do sign out, put someone in your place, inshallah. The next thing that causes protection in the day of judgment, some of the surahs of Quran. Surahs of Quran, for example, Surah Yusuf, for example, reading it. Surah of Ahqaf, or for example, different surahs. Reading these give us protection, inshallah. Reciting Surah Al-Qadr on the grave, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr, 7 times, helps significantly. Being buried, some of these need a lot of tawfiqat. Being buried, for example, in Mecca, in the Haram, for example. This is one of the examples. If you want to look at this list, you can look at Muhaddith Qumi. Sheikh Abbas Qumi has this book called Manazil al-Akhirah. These are in front, a lot of these are in there. I don't know, has anyone heard of this book called Manazil al-Akhirah? It's translated in English. If you want it, you can ask me. You can just search it in. The stations of, I don't know how they translate, stations of the hereafter. Maybe you can look at it and let us know. Manazil al-Akhirah has all of, from Barzakh, has this, not as lengthy as this, but has these few notes from there. What to do. Another thing that we do, and we have this hadith from the Prophet, is getting protection from man aradat lahu. You can say, fahisha wa shahwa. Anything that is a temptation of the lower desires. If a person fights against their lower desires and is tempted, like Prophet, for example, Yusuf alayhi salam, is if a person is tempted, can do haram, but he takes himself away from the shahwa, Allah will make him on the Day of Judgment, inshallah, protected. You see, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he did have, the Quran mentions that, hammat biha, she had an attraction to him, hammat bih, hamma biha. And he also had attraction. Don't say that the prophets don't have attraction. They don't have free will. They have it. They have it, but they control it. Or they have it, but they see the reality of it. At such a time, the Prophet Yusuf was 18. And at that time, you see in his story, the Zulaykha came to tempt him. And he was 18, a young boy. He was from the age of 9 to 18. He was in the house. 9 years he spent at that time. And he had an attraction, she had, but because of Allah, he stayed away from haram. Then she goes and shows the people, the women of the city, how beautiful Yusuf is. And gives them a knife and fruit, and they cut their own fingers. Then after that, there was no more excuse for Zulaykha in the women. Everyone loved, for example, when somebody becomes super popular, you see how it is, for example. And then everyone knew of Prophet Yusuf's beauty, all the women in the city. And she had no more excuse because they cut their fingers as well. There he says to Allah that the sijn is ahabbu ilay. The prison is better than me than these temptations of these ladies in my town. Everyone loved Prophet Yusuf at that time. But he says, the prison for me is better. I'd rather be in prison than to be tempted in this situation. So you see that one of the ways that you can learn from Prophet Yusuf or the prophets of God is that your love of God should be so strong that anything else that comes to take that love of Allah away from you, you say, no, I don't want it. And then, inshallah, you'll be protected in the Day of Judgment. This last thing that I'm going to mention, I need to work on myself. Man kadhama, all of it I need to work on. Man kadhama ghaydan wa huwa yaqdiru ala imda'ihi, hasha Allah, qalbahu amnan. Controlling anger. Allah will give them amniya. A person that can do, a person that has an instinct at that time to do something really bad to that person. Yes, if we ever do something, you're angry, we seek for forgiveness, you make it up for them. But if you can't work on yourself in a way that you control your anger, if you control your anger, then Allah will give you protection from the Day of Judgment. I'll say one more, inshallah, then we'll end. The last is helping people. Inna lillahi ibadan fil ard yas'una fil hawa'ij an-nas wa humul aminun yawm al-qiyamah. There are people that they strive to help people out. There are people in this community you see all they like to do is help others. If it comes to fasting, they like to cook. Every night they'll come and bring something for here, for example. They like to help others. They like to make them happy. If you like to help others, if you like to put a smile on their face, know that you will be protected, the hadith says, on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. So these are recommendations for us on the Day of Judgment, that if you have walayat, if you protect your eyes, if you stay away from sin, if you protect from shahwa, if you protect from anger, you recite those surahs of Quran, inshallah you will be protected in the Day of Judgment, one of the most scariest events. Hope that this series was beneficial for us. Maybe later on we will continue this. I'm not sure if I will be speaking tomorrow night or not. Nobody knows. I never knew in the first place too, because nobody knows when they'll be alive. So we might inshallah see each other tomorrow. If not, inshallah during Eid. Keep us in your dua, everyone, and make dua for each other. Ya Allah, we ask you this Shahr Ramadan, this can be the last night of Shahr Ramadan, because then tomorrow night will be the night of Eid. In this last night of Shahr Ramadan, because of the barakat of this month, because of the adumat of this month, Ya Allah, if you have not answered our prayers, right now, fi hadhihi as-sa'a, answer everyone's prayers right now, if it's salah for them. Answer everyone's du'as. Ya Allah, if you have not forgiven us from the hellfire, and there's still a chance for us to go to hell, please, right now, sign it off because of Imam Ali, the shaheed of this month. Because of his honor, protect everyone here, all of us, free us all, make us all of the utaqa minan nar, free of the hellfire, inshallah. Ya Allah, make us of the aminun, make us of the protected on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. Ya Allah, our family members, our friends, our parents, our grandparents that have passed away, give them, inshallah, nur in their graves and give them protection in the Day of Judgment, inshallah. Ya Allah, the sick, many are sick, and we know that you are ala kulli shay'in qadir. You can do anything. You have created this vast universe without even becoming tired. Inshallah, give shafa bihaqq Imam Ali alayhi salam, give shafa to all those that need shafa right now, all those that are sick, all those that are oppressed, all those that are hungry, all those that are starving, give them protection, inshallah. Ya Allah, our most important dua, that if this dua becomes mustajab, all our du'as become mustajab. Bring back our Imam, bring back and take us out of ghaibat, and take us in the time of hudur of Imam al-Zaman, inshallah, and make us of his noble companions with his salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajfaj. We'll open it up for Q&A. We'll make it a little bit shorter because